Greetings, everybody. Wonderful that you can join us again for our first in 2021 COVID-19 update with our very good friends at Longwoods International. So I'm joined again by Amir Alon, President and CEO of Longwoods International. My name's Chris Adams, Head of Research and Insights at Miles Partnership. We've been doing this, of course, now for 8+ months since the early days of the pandemic, working in collaboration with Longwoods International on tracking the impact, the nature and the outlook for travel during the COVID-19 crisis. Just a reminder, we have built and have been supporting throughout the crisis Clarity in Time of Crisis portal, which includes all our upcoming webinars, insights, case study examples, and this research right here, including a summary that's available, a 2-page summary, a full slide deck, as well as this recording. So please access that. And just a reminder again, we spent a large part of late 2020 doing some really significant deep research and analysis into the outlook for funding for DMOs and destinations, working with a range of partners. You can see on the front cover of one of the reports. So every DMO pretty much on the planet's facing challenges regarding funding. And so there's a lot of exciting options and opportunities outlined in the various reports that came out of that from both North America and Europe. So let me pass over to Amir. Amir, welcome in. And what are we seeing as January 2021 comes around?
Well, thank you, Chris, and Happy New Year, everyone. Although it's kind of getting late into January now, but yeah, we are off to starting the year with what we think is a good wave of optimism. We'll see if that's just New Year optimism or indeed the emergence of some positive trend lines that we've been long awaiting. What have we seen? What did we see as we closed out 2020 and began 2021? Well, on the one hand, you see, in the U.S. here, a record surge of new cases and the numbers that we don't like to see. You've seen some additional restrictions in certain parts of the country, but at the same time, we've also seen vaccine approved, and a few versions of the vaccine approved since we last spoke to you, and that rollout has begun. And it's been a little gradual at first, but we expect that to ramp up based on what we're hearing and seeing. So there's a lot of, and I think a lot of what's being reported in the news is now reflecting in traveler sentiment. So let's take a look at the numbers here real quickly. 69% of travelers planning to travel in the next 6 months are changing their travel plans due to the pandemic. These percentages should look pretty familiar. They've been relatively similar for a while. 45% reducing their travel plans, a little over a third canceling a trip altogether, about a third changing from flying to drive destination, and of course, with no real outlook, light at the end of the tunnel quite yet on the resumption of international travel. That focus from international to domestic continues to be there. So now let's take a look at the trend lines, which I always love to focus on, because here's where the optimism begins. So you can see as we kind of got into around Thanksgiving, the US Thanksgiving and the holiday season, we saw that spike that went as high as 77% in mid-November, and those changing their plans. And now we've gone down about 8 percentage points just over the last month and a half. We're trending in the right direction, folks, and that's that's a very good thing. When we're looking at, sorry about that. Equipment malfunction there. When we were looking at the trend lines here, look at those who are canceling their trips completely. Now, granted, some folks are holding off on travel planning a little bit, waiting for the vaccine, but the cancellation news is looking brighter. We saw that spike right there in mid-November or mid-December up to 41%. We've gone down 6% to 35%, going to kind of where we were pre-holidays again. So the optimism continues. Again, that focus on road trip travel is going to continue. Domestic road trip travel is going to lead the way into recovery. We talked about that a lot last year. And then looking at those 3 factors that we talk to travelers about every couple of weeks about that will greatly impact their decision to travel in the next 6 months. Yeah, no surprise that fear of coronavirus still leads, but look at that. Concerns about the economy and transportation costs still remain low. And we know gas prices are going up. And we're actually hearing forecasts. If you listen to some of the economists talking about gas prices, crossing over to 3.5, maybe even as high as $4 a gallon by the end of this year. But yet that's not registering in the minds of the travelers at this point. So looking at this, fear of coronavirus even. And again, we saw that big spike up to 52% right before Christmas, and now we're back to 46%, which is kind of where we were in mid-October and through mid-August. So again, trending in the right direction. That despite all the bad news about new cases and so forth, people are seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. So kind of with the vaccine, again, economic concerns not there significantly, and that same basic question that we asked since day one of the survey a little over 10 months ago, are you going to do you have travel plans for the next 6 months? And we're back up to 63%. We're back up to 2/3. You saw it kind of wavering there for the first time. It had gone below 60% as we got into the holiday season, and now it's back up and over again. Now, 1 point does not a trend line make. We'll wait and see the next wave or two here to see if the emerging trends, but we're feeling pretty good right now. This past week, we've asked the question, now that we're in the new year and there is that light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine, what is that first trip that travelers are going to take in 2021? You've seen us ask variations of this question as we got into summer travel season and fall travel season, holiday travel season. Well, let's talk about 2021 in general. Folks, no change. The road trip is going to dominate, and we all want to visit our friends and relatives, because as much as some of that travel did take place over the holidays, many opted not to do that, not to travel, and heeded the federal officials' guidelines, health officials' guidelines, and so forth. We are still feeling very disconnected from friends and family. So when you think about your marketing and your planning, there is a great opportunity for you there, and it's going to be dominated by road trip travel, as you can see. I want to point out one other data point on this slide, other than the fact that 51% of Americans want to visit friends and relatives first. Look right about 4 lines from the bottom there, or 5 lines from the bottom, where it says, I don't currently have any travel plans for 2021. Only 9% of American travelers are telling us they don't currently have plans there. And that bodes well and reinforces yet again that there is a big pent-up demand that is going to release perhaps a little faster when it comes to leisure travel than people think once these vaccinations happen. We also have asked this question before. We felt it was time to revisit it. It's been a little while. We wanted to look at these travelers. What kind of content have they been viewing or interacting with in the last couple months there as they're thinking? Because obviously a lot of them are starting to plan for travel to the future. So how are they keeping travel fresh in their minds? Well, no surprise. Still, number one is the short online travel video. Those 2 or 3 minute YouTube videos, etc., are still number one. But look at what's still number 2 right there. It's that traditional media, magazines, visitor guides, etc. There is that screen fatigue. It continues, and so when you're looking at your media mix, make sure you're hitting the right channels, not ignoring channels thinking they might be a little too old school, because print is working. Obviously here, and you can kind of see for yourselves down the rest of the line, but definitely a lot of media consumption happening. And you can see by those percentages, it's multi-channel for sure. We talk about perceptions and safety in travel. This again isn't a very new outlook as we're looking here, with that things are still pretty divided on a lot of key factors. But let's drill down into the trend lines, because the trend lines is where it's at. Oh, come on. And there we go. All right. Those are telling us they don't plan to travel until they have their access to the vaccine. Well, we saw it spike before the holidays again to 46%. It's down 5% back to where we were pre-holidays there, 41%. And that's good. And again, as that accelerates, that number is going to go down precipitously. We probably don't have to ask this question too much longer. So we're glad about that. Supporting opening up community to visitors. This is a really important one, especially for our destination marketing friends, that you're trying to get folks to come in and visit your communities. We've seen this one be a true roller coaster, as you can see from the trend lines. And it dipped hard there in time for the holidays. As you can see, it went down to 1/3 there, which number levels we hadn't seen since the kind of midsummer surge that we had there. But look at that leap. It just made back up for the new year here, 41%. So again, great room for optimism. Feeling safe traveling outside the communities, that's been slowly inching up despite the surge and so forth. And we think that's, again, a lot of vaccine optimism that's manifesting itself. They've been dipping their toe in the water, they're getting out there, and they're feeling a little bit better about it each and every day. And the very first baby step you got to take is dining and shopping locally. Again, we saw a nice little confidence boost with that happening, taking us back to kind of early to mid-October levels. So overall, Chris, why don't you bring us home and land this plane for us this week?
Yeah, so there's, as Amir shared, some positive areas of early optimism as 2021 starts off. In terms of the vaccines rollout, its effectiveness, hopefully we'll continue to get good news and really build on this early signs of progress. We need them to be really sustained and substantial in some of these key areas, like locals feeling comfortable welcoming back visitors, an absolutely critical point. Visiting friends and relatives, Amir's really emphasised the importance of VFR, and that's a critical component of reaching out to local residents, building their confidence shopping and dining locally, particularly during the height of the pandemic case numbers. That local business is going to be critical. It's also going to be critical that they're welcoming back and encouraging their friends and relatives to come and visit, and not just come and visit, of course, to come and visit, to stay, to spend money, to get out in your community and actually create economic impact. So really using your local residents as critical ambassadors. And then once the pandemic is hopefully in the rear vision mirror, continuing that relationship so we manage travel in a more thoughtful way post-pandemic than perhaps some of the issues that emerged pre-pandemic. So thanks again, Amir, for the opportunity to work with you on these critical insights and research. A reminder, everybody, that that summary and other resources are both available on the Longwood site and on that Clarity in a Time of Crisis portal that we shared with you before. Stay well, stay safe, and wherever you are in the world, we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.